Hi, everyone, and welcome to DRFTV's Oaks Countdown 2020. Nicole Russo coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, joined by Dan Illman in our New York studio. And each week, we'll be bringing you a look at the trail toward the Kentucky Oaks, that Philly Classic at Churchill Downs on the first Friday in May. Let's begin with a quick look at the current leaderboard toward the starting gate for the Oaks. Like the Derby, the field is determined by points earned in designated races, with those point values increasing as we get closer to the race, and with non-restricted stakes earnings, the tiebreaker in the rankings between fillies who hold the same point values. The field will be limited to 14 fillies, so here are your current top 14. And Dan, we just saw the top two in action on Saturday as Finite bested champion juvenile filly British Idiom in the Rachel Alexandra. The latter certainly has room to move forward off her season debut, but I really believe that Finite is a very special filly.
Well, there's no doubt she's at the top of the class right now, Nicole. I mean, that was a very comprehensive victory over British Idiom in the Rachel Alexandra. She's now won 5 races in a row, and for Beyer Speed Figure fans, good news. She cracked a 90 for the first time in the Rachel Alexandra. She has tactical speed. She gets the distance. She has those all-important wins at Churchill Downs from a 2-year-old, and she seems like a really hard-trying sort. There's really nothing not to like about Finite. Steve Asmussen has put her in all the right spots, and it just seems like she's going to stay at the fairgrounds, and if all goes well, she might very well be the favorite for the Kentucky Oaks.
Yeah, and as you said, she's now won 5 straight. 4 straight of those have been stakes at a mile or longer. As you said, won 2 stakes at Churchill last fall. I loved her first 2-turn race in the Goldenrod, where she stalked the pace, relaxed, then pounced at the right time. As you said, she has shown she can carry that speed and distance. She's tough in a dogfight. She's won on turf, on dirt, in sprints, and at a route on wet or fast tracks. From a Winchell family that's produced Tapiture and other nice runners, she should continue to run well in a distance. I just love everything I've seen from this filly. But as I said, take nothing away from British Idiom. She should move forward off that race, get a bit tighter for her next outing, which may come in the Ashland here at Keeneland, as Brad Cox takes the same path as Monomoy Girl did a couple of years ago.
Oh, I would expect her certainly to move forward in a race like the Ashland. She had the built-in excuse going into the Rachel Alexandra in that it was her first start of the year. She has already proven herself as a top-class filly by winning the Alcibiades and, of course, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies. It's quite possible this filly was only 90% cranked up for the Rachel Alexandra. She tried hard to finish second in that race. Her Beyer actually increased off the win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies. I wouldn't count British Idiom out just yet. To me, she doesn't seem like one of those just overly precocious 2-year-olds. Now the rest of these horses are catching up to her. She had the excuse for the last race. We'll learn a lot more about her Oaks chances next time.
Absolutely. I mean, I completely agree with you that she doesn't seem like the precocious type where they're now catching up. Remember, she came on late in the year as a 2-year-old to win a pair of Grade 1 races going 2 turns in the fall. If anything, I think she has room to get better, certainly get better in her second start off the layoff. Now, we talk about last year's other two-turn good 2-year-old fillies, and picking up a couple of first place votes actually behind British Idiom in the Eclipse voting was Bast. That 3-time Grade 1 winner started this season with a win in the Santa Ynez on January 5th, returned to the work tab on January 18th with a bullet, but hasn't worked since. Now, she's gotten the best of one of the West's other top fillies, Dona Veloce, a couple of times, but that one might be waiting in the wings as she continues to gear up for her 3-year-old debut off her close second to Bast in the Starlet in December.
Bast and Dona Veloce, I think, are 2 very talented fillies. Bast especially. We're going to watch Bast's win over Dona Veloce in the Starlet. It was a really game and gutsy performance. Bast is a filly who tries very hard in her races, and you could argue she ran the best race in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies because that was one of those fast, early, slow-paced races where Bast was just on the pace doing all of the dirty work, and then she understandably got tired at the end. Since then, she's been unstoppable, winning the Starlet at Los Alamitos, as we see here, defeating Donna Veloce, and then last time out on the Santa Ynez, successfully turning back to 7 furlongs. But you mentioned a very key point regarding Bast. She has not worked since January the 18th. She has merely been jogging and galloping, and it just appears that she's in a holding pattern right now. And even if your name is Bob Baffert, you don't want to have one of your horses having any sort of hiccups before a major race like the Kentucky Oaks. Bast has the talent that if we see her on the work tab soon and hopefully back into the entry box soon, she will be a contender for the Kentucky Oaks. But that hiccup worries me. As for Donna Veloce, considering the amount of work she did in such a short amount of time last year, remember, she went from debut winner to Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies runner-up in the span of what? A little bit over a month? She is very, very good. I like that Simon Callahan has given her a breather. She is back on the work tab. We will see her in the Santa Isabel on March the 8th. Keep an eye out for Donna Veloce, an $800,000 daughter of Uncle Mo.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. She won her maiden so impressively at first asking, went straight into the deep end, went to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, had that hard-fought loss to Bast in the Starlet. She has shown that she clearly has talent. Now she's had a little bit of time to develop that talent, and I'll be very interested to see what she does first time out of the gate, as you mentioned, in March. But the next upcoming points races toward the Kentucky Oaks will actually take you global. Looking ahead on the calendar, we've got the UAE Oaks in Dubai at Meydan on February the 20th, followed by the Devona Dale at Gulfstream on February 29th. Some nice fillies down based in Florida this year, including Tonalist Shape, who was very impressive last out. I'm sure we'll be talking about her soon. But, from California to Fairgrounds to New York to Florida to overseas, the Kentucky Oaks Trail is well underway. Dan, you and I will be keeping a close eye on these 3-year-old fillies all winter and spring here, and we'll be coming back to you next week and throughout the spring on DRFTV for the latest on the Oaks Countdown.